So this is Terminal View. Terminal View is a 3D graphic representation of the data in your TOS. So we take all of the data from traffic control and yard manager, we rebuild your scene in 3D. So we start with CADs, photos from the terminal itself. So we build a completely to-scale model of your terminal, down including admin buildings, some of the local scenery. You happen to be invaded by an alligator, they occasionally show up. But it's often difficult to kind of tell how your yard is doing when you're sitting in an admin building or you're off-site. And it's a way to kind of be able to actually see where all your data is, where your people are, where things are, and how it looks. If I want to see congestion in the yard, I can see too much equipment operating in one place in the yard. If people are putting containers in a place where they shouldn't, I can see that, such as why are people putting 20s in this part of the yard when 40s should go there, or why are chassis being moved over to a storage facility when nothing's bundled over here. And it's that way of kind of getting a quick top-down view of your entire yard and operations in one view. Now, everything in Terminal View has a hover over state. So if I hover the cursor over a spot in the yard, I can see exactly what spot that is. If I hover over a container, I can see the container number and where it currently is. And if it has a move plan, I'll see that. I get chassis. If this were a chassis bundle, I would see all the chassis currently in that bundle. We get position updates for equipment, either using logical location, where if we know a piece of equipment has completed a move or is about to pick up a container, we place the equipment next to it so that you can see where equipment is and productivity in the yard. If I'm looking for a specific container or a piece of equipment, I can do a find, and the camera will automatically fly right to it wherever it is. I can hit the button and fly right to it and see where that current UTR is scheduled. When we do the finds, we turn everything that's not included in a search transparent so that you can you still maintain some context to where something is placed, such as if a container is in a stack, but we try to provide that visibility. We do inventory filters. This allows me to filter the inventory based on group code, destination, or sort code. I'll just do a quick. So we've got a lot of full containers. And now if I've done a complicated search and I want to be able to do a comparison and contrast between those two, I can either add a new search window tab, or I can copy the current criteria over to another tab, make a small change, and now I can see how those contrast. So if I wanted to see all the destinations for where all the containers for one destination or rail visit are, I could see those. And then I could compare those to where other inventory or rail visits are currently located in the yard. We do the rail visit allows us to actually see the individual visits and filter the yard by those. So I can see where all that work is currently distributed. And if I just want to see all inbound versus outbound, I can do that as well. We cover all railcar classes, so we've got flat cars. If you want to drill down to an individual railcar, I can hover over it to get its footmark, or I can shift select to see all the containers currently on that railcar, and you can see it highlighted here. And then I can just move up or down the track. Now we have the 3D view, which we use a lot, but then also in control centers, we've noticed that they like to have sort of a top-down view, which lets them see the entire terminal and see where everything is in the yard. You can configure a lot of these settings based on if you have it on a large screen and it's difficult to see, you can change the size of the text. I will show equipment trails in a second when we switch to a live example. I can adjust the quality. I can turn shadows on and off. If we get safety zone information, so we can display that. We are with English, Spanish currently. You can also set your controls. We didn't originally do this, but we had one of our testers was actually left-handed. So we developed this so that he could switch the settings over to work for him and his keyboard. We track OTRs on the terminal. So when a OTR comes into the terminal, we get its start time as far as when it's first gated in, and then we allow you to access and display that. So I don't have any OTRs here, but if I did, I'd see exactly what time they came in, what they're scheduled to pick up, and how long they'd been on terminal. And I can set thresholds for that to let me see how many minutes it's been on terminal so that I can see its state. So if it turns to red, I know that I'm probably about to get a phone call. Now, some of the things that we're able to do with this is we can also adjust cone status. So if I'm logged in with credentials, I can select a rail car and I can adjust its the lock or cone states, pulling cones from those, and then unlocking those. You can see it turns blue as soon as we get the notification from iPro that it has been unlocked, then we update the status here. That's more of an exception type management piece. You can see that we have the blue dashed lines lit next to the tracks to let me know that the blue flags are on for those tracks, so they're safe to work. We update those as soon as we get the notification from iPro about the blue flag status. We have access to the full equipment list, and this is a small yard, and so I have some controls. So if I want to change the labels to a specific color for my operations, I can do that here. And that will change all of my labels. If I'm monitoring only specific equipment and I only need to see widespan crane 1, I can turn the other 2 off. So I can kind of filter the view by specifically the inventory and equipment that I'm interested in. And if I wanted to hide all cranes or have any type of equipment, I can do that as well. A lot of configuration settings so that I could set a specific view. If I'm constantly going back and monitoring part of the yard, I can set up my own camera positions here so I can snap the camera back to those views anytime I want to. Those work in the 2D and the 3D view. But I will say this is far more exciting to see in like real time. This is a marine facility, but they're getting live data so we can see some things actually move in terminal view. Now, this is a combination of 3 different position detection systems we're watching right now. We've got ABB, which is making the ASC cranes here move. We've got MyJack out in the yard, which is their DGPS solution, which would have equipment updating. And we can show you Tango Trace and Go. This is a Windows-based service that we created that will run on a lot of MDUs or on small PCs that we're putting in the cabs of trucks. And it lets us very inexpensively send location data straight to terminal view through the TOS. We actually have one of our trucks is moving right now, which is at 3242. So he's getting GPS position updates from a PC operated in the cab. What's really nice with being able to send this to the TOS, we can handle multiple position detection systems on one system and display them all put together here in terminal view with your inventory. Equipment has a work list, so if I double click any piece of equipment, I get its current work list, and I can see the yard filtered by where that inventory is. I get around each label, you'll see this ring, the green or red ring, and that lets me notice that the status of the equipment. So RTG38 in this example is connected to the TOS. It is getting position and update data, and so we have a green ring around it. You can start to see some of the snail trails we have here. So what we found in talking to some customers is that they would have to look up a terminal view and they would have to watch it for a second to kind of get a sense of where a piece of equipment was moving. So to resolve that, we added a snail trail after the equipment so that you can look up and quickly kind of see where he was and where he's moving. And that is also configurable as to how many seconds I want to make that snail trail exist. In Yard Manager, you have the ability to set an idle equipment alert, and this is how long a piece of equipment can go before completing a move. And traffic control maintains that timer. So when traffic control says a piece of equipment hasn't completed a move in a certain amount of time, we get an idle alert. So that lets me in a couple of things I can tell right away. So Top Pick 27 currently isn't connected to the system because he's got a red ring and hasn't completed a move for 441. So without contacting the driver or even being on the terminal, I can tell that there's something going on right here, right now. And that gives me the opportunity to resolve and address it immediately. And from the top-down view, these guys are all parked right now, so they're off. So we will get a pulse for those automatically. But I can see right away where I have idle equipment. I also do hazard filters. So if I want to see where my hazardous containers are currently located in the yard, I can filter by those. And now the other thing that Terminal View does is every single move, position update, equipment update, or container movement change that we get, we record that data. So we have the playback, which allows me to go back to any date over the course of the last few weeks, set a start time and a duration, and then I can watch that play through in real time or speed it up and watch it faster. And that's kind of ties in with, I think, Insight really nicely. So Insight will provide a lot of that kind of data as to the performance of your terminal over a period. But sometimes you want to dig a little deeper and see exactly why something didn't go well, or conversely, why something went very well, and you kind of want to get a sense for how the day played out. So I can go back to any day in history over the amount that we actually store, which depends on the memory of the server. I could go back a week or two and watch a whole shift play out in real time, or speed that up if I wanted to. I also do exceptions if I want to see if there are any collisions in the yard, which this is a nice clean yard. If I had any floating containers, I could also see that. We do have a couple of floating containers, and those usually get caught on the next yard check. So what I can see here are the solid colored containers are containers that are where they are right now that have a planned move. They're assigned to ASCO4, and the outlined container positions are the planned positions. You also get some of the logical locations I was talking about earlier. So UTR 11 is picking up something here, so that's why we have placed here. And that's going to be throughout the yard. You're going to see a lot. So this, I'm getting live position updates for this equipment. Topic 58 is going to be a logical location. So he's picking up containers in this area, and that's why he shows right there. I know we invest a lot of money in tosses and getting things all set up, and it's often difficult to convey the technology to customers. And this kind of view kind of provides a way to show that investment in technology.